you might say some little nuggets now and I won't be able to remember.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I had people on our channel to say, you and Kerry personality are so much alike. You guys need to do that's who you need to interview, because I was trying to interview just regular people,
Right.
where that don't have a channel but are watching us. So just your regular, every day that is trying this. And every time I try to get them, they redirect me to you. So I said, okay, let me just reach out to them. So the Browns would love to say thank you.
Yes, thank
so
you.
much for saying yes. And I also want to tell you that you're doing a phenomenal job. How I found out about you, I think you were at your third week on the carnivore diet. Your excitement, and I had started, but your excitement almost made me want to like start over, if there's such a thing.
Right.
And I as I was telling people what we started doing, I used that video. And it's like, listen, you might not hear it from me, but look at this guy. I don't even know him. And listen to what he's saying. And I ended up like sending that out as well. So thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started because I think you're going to say some great things. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is G Brown, the lifestyle changer. And this is
Frederick Brown, the husband.
And this is my brother from another mother. And I loved your response. What was your response?
Sister from another mister.
There you go. Right. And we are all hanging out with the Browns. Okay. Over the last few days, I've been trying to catch up on your videos. And some of the things that I was going to talk about, you have spoke about. And I know a lot of people on my channel are familiar with you. So I'm going to change up my very first question, because I want to know, I understand, how the carnivore diet fell in your lap, but I want to know, how did that end up transferring over to the movie? And and tell us about this movie.
Documentary.
Documentary. Yes.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I appreciate being on here. I really appreciate what you guys are doing too. Getting those documented examples, whether they're YouTubers or just individuals or whatever, is so important. And that's what literally changed my life forever. I watched a YouTuber when I was desperate and hopeless and kind of at the end of my road, like there's nothing else I could do. And it wasn't just obesity, it was depression, mental health issues. I had arthritis so bad, I could barely step down on my foot. And I found a documented example from a real person. It wasn't a doctor. It's like someone I could relate to. This was Dante from Frigno Freedom. And he did a video, and his video was from 2 years ago. And he was like, I'm doing this carnivore thing, actually lion diet for him. I'm only going to be eating meat. And I was so cynical. I was desperate, but I was cynical. I was like, there's no way this guy's going to just keep eating meat. Like, this is crazy. But he was so inspirational, just fired up. And he said, ultimately, I'm doing this for my family. And that really resonated with me. But I was still kind of a jerk about it, because I'm like, there's no way you get, how are you going to just eat meat for 30 days or whatever? It's not sustainable. And I noticed the video was from 2 years ago. So I said to my wife, Jen, we were both watching this, going to bed at night. I'm like, let's fast forward. Let's go look at his most recent video, because this one was 2 years ago. There's no way he's still eating meat. We looked at the most recent video. You couldn't even recognize the man anymore. Lost all the weight, but his face, he has, like both of you have, and every carnivore I meet, they have the carnivore glow. You can see the smile. It's like a default smile instead of a default frown. You could just see that energy and that health in his face. And he was just a completely different person. So that fired me up. And I did keto years ago. And the reason I found keto was actually through a pretty obscure documentary. I saw it on Netflix. It was called Fathead. It was by a gentleman named Tom Naughton. And it was really interesting. He kind of produced it all himself, but it was fascinating because I never heard about keto before. And I started keto from that documentary. And he had some science and some facts in there. And he was talking about Ansel Keys and a lot of stuff that we've been lied to over the years, that it's like everything we've been told is pretty much the opposite. And he was getting into the facts of that. And I'd never seen those facts before. And that's what ultimately, and then his own example too was in there. He's like, I'm doing it. This is what's happening for me. That documented example convinced me. And I had some good success with keto over the years. So when I found carnivore through Dante, I still didn't believe it. I watched a whole bunch of Dr. Berry videos and Dr. Chafee videos, and I did a lot of research until finally I was just desperate. I'm like, I'm going to try this. And just within days, I was noticing results. And the thing that the reason to answer your question, the carnivore diet documentary I'm doing and what ultimately convinced me was I did a video at 30 days, my 30-day update. And I've been doing YouTube for years, mostly about homesteading. And we got chickens and goats and trying to get our own farm fresh eggs, things like that. I was going to do one video on carnivore diet because it's like, this is life-changing for me. It'll be kind of fun. That's what I looked at. Like, this is going to be fun. Well, I put that video up and it just blew up. And people were like, this is firing me up. This is resonating me. You convinced me. I was on the fence. I'm going to start. And that was 140 days ago. I've had so many stories in just the weeks after that of people, I started carnivore and you were right. Like, I stopped snoring. My depression's going away. Like, these life-changing things. And people will write essays to me like this changing. And it's not me. I'm like, you did it yourself. I'm glad that I inspired you in some way or that I fired you up. But ultimately, people have to do it themselves. But seeing all of these examples really opened my eyes. But my thing was, we're just reaching a small subset of people on YouTube. There's a lot of people. You guys and I are kind of weird. And I like weird people. So that's a compliment. But not everyone is on YouTube all the time. A lot of people, they'll throw on Netflix or something else. So I'm like, we need to reach. There's so many hopeless people out there, like myself, like Bill from Alaska, like a lot of folks that I've talked to, and I think there's no answer. And at my worst, I had clinical depression for years, and it was the most horrible thing. It's hard to describe to people, but I was hopeless. And if I would have had carnivore back then, 20 years ago, would have changed my life forever. And I know there's a lot more hopeless people out there. So that's the thought with the documentary. And the documentary Carnivore Diet movie, we're really close to nailing down a name for it too, by the way, but Carnivore Diet documentary movie. The whole goal isn't to say you need to be doing carnivore diet. It's just to say, here's examples of real people, documented real people, real examples like you're showing on your channel, that are doing carnivore diet. We're going to follow them for 1 year. And it's not just obesity. It's depression, mental health, it's heart disease, it's type 2 diabetes. That's what really convinced me too. Dr. Berry's video on reversing type 2 diabetes, 1,000 comments he has on that video. People saying, Dr. Berry, you changed my life forever. You saved my life. Comment after comment. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So
it is.
Yeah,
that's kind of what fired me up about the documentary.
Well, very good. Frederick and I know that if we go ahead and give the website, it's the
carnivoredietmovie.com.
Right. And you can make donations on there. So we are going to donate because I really believe in that. Was one of the reasons why I wanted to get with you, because your following is up. I want to get this in other communities. It's like when I go around and I see people pushing on walkers, and when we were on the cruise ship, that's one of the things, because when you're ordering, someone can overhear and it's like, you're just going to eat meat, so it strikes up a conversation. You can see people struggle to get up. And you're going to have success on the ship because they're everyone is super friendly. You're going to sit next to strangers and people will look over. Hey, is this your first time cruising? So conversation is always going, and there's going to be an avenue almost in every conversation to bring up this diet, especially if they're around you while they're eating, and then you order just meat. And it can be done on the ship. trust and now the temptation of, I always talk about the people walking around with the ice cream. The temptation is there, but yeah, it can be done. You want to ask the first question, baby?
Yeah, I think one of the things that that my wife and I have been really talking about and really trying to get people to understand when considering this diet is the fact that they've been lied to. And one of the biggest scams is big pharma. And kind of wanted to get your take, because we've been looking at Katie Porter and some others, drill down on some of these CEOs and look at the enormous amounts of money that they make, kickback bonuses for simply just increasing the price of a pill that does nothing any more than it did when they first designed it, and it's heartbreaking. It's irritating, frustrating, and it kind of pisses me off, and so kind of want to get your take on big pharma.
For sure. Oh, I could go on the whole time because it pisses me off too. It really fires me up. I don't have it here, but I always show people my pills I've had for
you left it at the movie. You left it at the movie.
Well, it makes me so mad too, just for my daughters, because I've seen what they've gone through. But one of the things, being lied to, a lot of people will be like, oh, you're some conspiracy theorist, like, oh, everyone's lying to us. But when you really think about it, every driver in the entire world is pushing us towards eating more sugar. And then when you really think about it, that's not a conspiracy. Just look in the grocery store. Everything has sugar in it. And if you think about sugar as an industry, not just by itself, not just you're buying sugar, but every one of those companies, Coca-Cola, every cereal company, Pop-Tarts, they all have sugar in it. It's billions and billions. It's such huge money. I really think it's one of the biggest industries out there. So they get us hooked from a young age. There's an incredible amount of money to be made there. And then on the pharma side and the medical side, you get all these ailments and sickness. Inflammation is one of the worst things for humans, and nobody talks about it. The only thing when I'm on Carnivore, people are like, oh, Kerry, that's great. You lost that weight, but you're going to have a heart attack. I want to see your cholesterol numbers. When you're 6 times more likely to have heart disease if you have inflammation and you have poor metabolic health. Nobody talks about that. But you get sick, you get inflammation, and then like me, you get depression, anxiety, you get obese, you have trouble walking around, arthritis, all of these things. And you go to the doctor, and the answer is so simple. What are you eating? You take your dog to the vet, they say, what are you eating? It's just nutrition. They never ask you that when you go to the doctor, and it's just pills, 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 pills. Pills don't solve the problems. They didn't solve the problems for me. They didn't solve my depression. They didn't solve my arthritis, my inflammation. It solved none of it. And it's just like this big circle. So you eat a bunch of sugar, you get sick, you go to the doctor doesn't say anything about the nutrition or the food you're eating, and they give you medication. And so they're making billions of dollars selling the sugar, and they're making billions of dollars on the healthcare side. It sounds like you're some crazy conspiracy theorist, but then when you really think about it, no, it's like money drives this whole world. And then people are, and on the conspiracy theory side too, it's like, I'm not saying there's just some evil guy out there that's like, ooh, I'm going to get everybody. This business run amok. You're going to make a ton of money if you sell a lot of sugar. You're going to make a ton of money if you sell pills. A lot of these people had good intentions starting out, but then it snowballs and snowballs into this big mess. So many people are in this brain fog, because that's one thing I hate is things happen slowly and they become normal. So when you and I see it, right? It's like these carnivore epiphanies. You look at on the cruise ship or at the grocery store, all these people, and it's not fat shaming. They're either obese, or you could see them, they're bent over, or they look like zombies. They're miserable. They're depressed. They got this brain fog and they're not thinking clearly. But that's happened so slowly, it's become normal. But you look back 20 years ago, people didn't look like that. It's happened more and more and more, and it just keeps creeping in there. That's one of the things I want to get across with the carnivore diet documentary too, is someone was asking me, they're like, it's going to be hard some people are going to be like standoffish when you say carnivore. And I'm like, well, if people take nothing else away from the carnivore diet movie, I hope they take away this. And that's what 99% of the things you go to a doctor for are nutrition. And I never knew that. I feel foolish in retrospect, but all those things and all those pills I had, every single one of them was nutrition. in my head, I'm like, these doctors are really smart people. And a lot of them are really smart people. They went to college, they went for years and years and years,
but they were taught how to treat symptoms, not how to cure. And
right.
That's the thing about the medical.
Yeah. I did hear Dr. Kim Berry say once, when he was in medical school, that nutrition wasn't part of his medical curriculum. So
right.
they're not taught, you know.
Well, not, and then too, a lot of times people with diabetes, when they go to the doctor, they will recommend to them stay off of sugar, but it's so people look for it, and then the industry changed it to sugar free.
Yeah.
But they're telling the truth. The white sugar is not there, but they have a substitute. And so here's the thing, as long as you tell the patient lay off of sugar and not all the processed foods, they still get to come back to you.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Because they have spent all this money for school. Well, doggone it, I have to pay the loans. Plus, I need to live in this house. I have to educate my kids. And if I cure everybody, then what? What am I going to do?
And a lot of people also don't realize that, if you are laying off the sugar, you're thinking refined sugar.
Mm-hmm.
When you got carbs that metabolize into glucose, and you got your fruits, which is what I love. You got
they start their smoothies.
So you got sugar coming from all different avenues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people, diabetes or whatever, I'll just go to the fruit and I'll just have fruit. People make that argument to me too, like, oh, fruit can't be bad for you. I'm like, well, if you look at an orange today versus an orange 100 years ago, they've modified it so much that the orange today is almost like a piece of candy. It fires up your insulin and everything. It's not the same as it was before. So yeah, it's in everything too. You can't get away from it. And like the closest I've gotten with the doctors is you should eat better. Well, what does that even mean? There's some people I really believe too. Some people are all right moderating. Myself personally, I can't moderate. So I had really good success with keto. Like I mentioned earlier, I watched that documentary. I lost all this weight. My wife Jen and I both did. And we have this picture from about 10 years ago. We went on a cruise to Alaska. It was the only other time I went to Alaska before seeing Bill. And we were both so healthy and we were exercising. But what happened was this. I got down, you lose all that body fat, right? And when you're in ketosis, you're burning fat for fuel. That's your energy source. When you get down to your goal weight, you lose most of that fat, you start getting really, really hungry. And then you start hearing people telling you, well, hey, you did a good job. Now just eat in moderation.
Moderation.
That's what I hate that word too, by the way. I hate that word. People keep telling me that on Carnivore. Why are you eating only meat? Just eat in moderation. Well, that's what I did back then after I lost all that weight. And it's so sad too, looking back on these pictures, because I remember that time like, I did it. I'm never going to be fat again. I'm never going to be unhealthy again. I'm never going to turn back. I'm going to do everything I can. But I went to eat in moderation and I had good intention of like, I'm just gonna have some strawberries, low glycemic, a little bit of sugar. I couldn't do it. You'd eat a little bit and you were ravenously hungry. And I got that little taste of sugar again. Sugar is an addictive drug. And for some people, they can handle it. I can't. So I had a little bit. Then it was some watermelon. Then it was a little bit more fruit. I will have some salad. And then you look at that. I have that picture. I had another one just from several months later, gained all the weight back. It's like the saddest thing. And I did that.
And not only you gain it, you gain more.
Yes.
Listen, I'm going to combine two questions because you kind of hit on one, because I wanted to talk about this breakfast industry. And also, well, I don't know. Are you 40?
40. I just turned 43 a couple days ago.
Okay. Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
So I know when we were growing up, Saturday morning cartoons was the big thing. Okay. I remember Speed Racer, the Jetsons, but the biggest thing was the commercials. And they knew at that time. And then do you remember? I don't even know if it's like that now. Do they still have prizes in the box? Because I think now that you're hooked on it, they don't even have to give you a prize anymore. Right. And with the industry, we came out into the factories. So that's when they really created this breakfast to keep that sugar in you so you can work longer on the line. What was your experience? I mean, because you did touch on it just a little bit on how they're trying to trap our kids. And the kids aren't buying it.
It's us.
But, well, you were good, so on and so forth. And it's just food, I don't have to get up and cook. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, that fires me up even more. I want to just declare war on the sugar industry because it's horrible. This generation of children, not even the last generation myself, the same, exactly like you said, grew up watching those Saturday morning cartoons and it was just sugar, sugar, sugar. And imagine if that was like cigarettes or something for kids. Try to get them hooked young. That's all it is. And then you look at these things like, I said this in a previous video, but breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I used to believe that. Most people watching this probably believe that. I was just talking to my brother-in-law. He's like, it is. I'm like, why? You show me the proof that it is. And you can actually look this up and see. Kellogg's paid millions and millions of dollars, put it in magazines and put it in newspapers and get little clips on the thing. Why? Well, if we're eating breakfast in the morning, we're going to be eating it all day. And if we're getting kids hooked young early on cereal and Pop-Tarts and all this stuff, they're consumers for life. It's like you said, they don't have to put the prizes in the packages anymore. It's so sad that this generation of kids, they're never going to know what it's like to just feel like a natural human. And you're seeing it more and more. These kids that have ADHD and learning disorders, and then they become teenagers and they have hormonal imbalance issues and depression and anxiety at younger and younger ages. It's just
Kerry,
horrible.
I'm going to take it a step further because those same young people now are adults still eating wrong, get pregnant.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why there are so many people on the spectrum now.
Yeah.
Where it's like your incubation wasn't healthy, even though you thought you were eating right. Yeah. And it's trickery all the way around. It really is. All right, your turn.
Yeah. Well, my wife a few years ago, she decided that we were gonna go vegan.
Amazing.
And
watching a documentary, What the Health.
Yeah. And I kind of fell into that trap. But it didn't last long for me. And it lasted a few years for her. So we kind of want to get your take on, veganism.
Help the vegans, Kerry. Help the
vegans. And that kind of deal.
Well, so that's kind of close to home. My daughter Emma was vegan for 5 years, and my wife was vegetarian for many years. And my thing with vegan is like they have compassion. So I feel for them. They have big hearts. A lot of people are doing it because they feel for animals and they have compassion for animals. And I think that's awesome. I think they're thinking emotionally, though, and not the facts. One of the things I've learned, I really believe we made these shirts up, Compassionate Carnivore. So my daughter, Emma, that was vegan, decided on her own. I didn't force her or push her. I didn't even say it. I never in a million years thought she was going to switch over because she was so bullheaded and set in her ways. She saw me doing carnivore and then my other daughter, Lily, doing carnivore and just thriving. And Emma, the vegan, was tapping out. She was so fatigued, so sickly, coming home from school, acne, pale, going to bed at like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. She just had no energy. She was tapping out. She went full 360 and started doing carnivore, and she's just been thriving ever since. But it was a big thing for her too, because the reason she was doing it was her compassion for animals. She too saw a documentary like you guys did. And sadly, there's a lot of propaganda out there. You dig into some of that stuff and it's so wrong. Some of the stuff I've learned with my daughter, Emma, was, well, this one fact, and people can Google this. I'm not making this up. 72 million birds die every year from pesticide poisoning on plants. And that's just the birds. There's deer, fox, squirrel, and then whole ecosystems, billions of insects. So to be a vegan, animals have to die. And that's something Emma, my daughter, realized, and I realized too. If you want to live on this earth, it's a sad truth. It's the food chain. It's the way it's always been. If you want to be alive, other animals are going to have to die. I really think, though, carnivore is the most compassionate way of eating, way of living there can be. I see the meat I get, it's grass-fed cows from my neighbor. And one cow gives me hundreds and hundreds of meals. One salad for a vegan with all that multitude of different ingredients and everything, pesticides, and not just pesticides. They got to tear the soil up. They got to put fertilizer in there. It can destroy whole ecosystems. They got monocropping.
That's it.
Yeah, and then the pollution too. Like if you're talking about the environment, people are always talking about cows in the environment. This vegan products are shipped in from Mexico and all over the country, coming in on trucks and packaging and grocery store and all of this. I get a cow 1 mile down the road. They process it, 400 meals. I don't think there's anything more compassionate than that. And the thing with vegan too is some people have really good success for a while, but it seems like they end up tapping out. And people keep telling me this. They're like, Kerry, this is great. You're having all this success. If you would have just eliminated the sugar and the junk and gone vegan, the same thing would have happened. And I used to, in the early days of Carnivore, I kind of believed that a little bit. I totally disagree with it now. There's a huge thing missing that people underestimate. When you're eating that fatty meat, your cholesterol goes up. That fatty meat's been demonized so long. When you look around the world and all these men are getting testosterone replacement therapy, and sadly, all these young girls, I have 4 daughters, they're starting to get their periods at younger and younger ages, and they have all these hormonal imbalances, and people are having problem with pregnancy and all this stuff. It's hormones. And when you eat that fatty meat, your cholesterol goes up, your hormones balance, your sleep gets better, depression goes away. There's so much that goes on when you're with your body with hormones. And when you're eating vegan and just lettuce and a little bit of stuff, the hormones get out of whack. It's funny too, because it's anecdotal, but there's vegan doctors and there's carnivore doctors, and you can see it. And there's people that are vegan YouTubers, and I'm not shaming them, but you look at a carnivore and you look at a vegan and you can tell the vegan, they're usually like tired and they're fatigued and they've got issues. I could see it in my daughter, Emma, night and day. The vegan version of Emma versus the carnivore, her face is glowing, the acne's gone, and she's got so much more energy. So yeah, it's I feel for the vegans. I respect the fact that they're compassionate, but I think they're misguided, and they're thinking with emotion when they should be looking at the facts a little bit more.
Yeah. So today is 104 for him, but it's 102 for me because I was vegan. And so the moment that he fixed that first plate, I said, I can't eat beef. Right? I don't even want to smell it. It was that type thing. And but 2 days later, I did join him, and you haven't probably had an opportunity. December 8th of last year, my husband experienced a flare-up. So he was diagnosed with gout. But this didn't seem like gout, and you guys don't have gallbladders. So that was another thing. And this went on. First, he bought himself a cane, and it was an ugly cane too, Kerry. It was like the Walmart one. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm like, whoa! And it didn't get better. Then he went to my mother's walker. He couldn't get out of bed, and we just didn't know. They injected him with pain meds, cortisone, and then finally they got him into a specialist, and they said that this was a form of arthritis. They just didn't know which one. Wow. And so that's where the loading of the pills, it was. I
had like 4 or 5 pills. One, I had to take a series of 8 once a week. I had allopurinol, I think it was. I had I had some I couldn't even pronounce.
Prednisone you had to take to take a low dose every day, and then the flare up happened again. So then they loaded him with it, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought this was going to help him, and so.
And I'm getting pissed too, right? I'm sitting
because
here
medicine
talking to the
comes with side
rheumatologist,
effects.
talking to this supposedly, expert in the field, and never once did he talk about my nutrition. It's all about loading me up with all of these medications, and I told my wife I can't do this. I mean, I resorted to trying to figure it out myself, right? And that's where
my brother
introduced me to it. I listened. And I'm like, I think that's it.
That day, that's when so it was a Friday. He was like, fix me a steak. So he had probably 6 or 8 strips of bacon, 5 or 6 eggs, and a big old steak. and he just looked happy when he was eating it. Right, he had a big. I took a picture of him. I was like, "You doing that?"
Yeah.
And so I started with lamb.
Yeah, but even then, so within the first week, I had thrown away all my pills. I said, "This is it." Right?
Yeah, because you started feeling better,
and I felt so much better. I mean, all of the inflammation was gone. I could walk, I could run. There are times I just felt like jumping up and running, right? For me being 60, I don't really want to run too much.
59, you will be 60 today.
I don't want to run too much. But
I absolutely love hearing this. I don't know if you guys know this, but that was your breaking point. What you just described, Frederick, is the exact same thing I had. So I've talked about all my issues, but they said it was gout. I had it for 18 months. I had one point I was in I had like a walker too. I couldn't put any pressure down on the foot. All the same things you just said. Prednisone, alpurinol, colchicine, all these different pills, those injections are so bad for you. That was the only relief I got when they put an injection in there. And those injections can hurt sometimes too if they don't know what they're doing. And none of it, I did that for 18 months. And they said it was gout. They said it was a flare up. The other guy was talk about getting fired up. This guy was like, well, he thought it was gout, but I got a uric acid test and it came back normal. And he was like, yeah, you could still have gout. Let's up the dosage of the alpurinol. And they kept upping it and changing it and doing it. And it was 18 months. And it's completely a year and a half of suffering. Completely gone, just like you described. It's amazing.
But here's the thing,
because that's in pain.
Yeah, mine had been going on for many years. It wasn't just my gout wasn't just the toes; it was in my ankles, on the inside, outside of my ankles. Bone spurs, felt like bone spurs. I had occasional severe inflammation in the knees, back. My whole body was inflamed. Yes. My whole body was inflamed. I have none of that. No. And then after 30 days, after 30 days, I think it was, I actually got rid of the blood pressure medicine. So my blood pressure is under control. I'm on no medication. It feels so daggone good.
Yes.
And I get excited. We get excited.
I know.
And we listen to you and watch your excitement.
People don't understand.
It don't understand. And then we got our loved ones, family members that try it, can't hang with it, caught up with the sugar, and I still feel sad for them, but I don't want to feel like I'm just forcing it, trying to force it, it's got to be something they want to do. And I think sometimes until people actually go through some of the things you've gone through, then they may have a change of heart. But if they're not going through, they haven't got to their rock point.
Bottom.
Right.
And I know for me, fibromyalgia, I couldn't even put clear polish on my nails. The nail bed would just throb. I used to get back injections. Now, keep in mind, I'm vegan. Right. I got back injections, restless leg, the sciatic. And I used to tell my husband, I'm tired, but I hate going to bed, because at that point, you sit there, and it wasn't so much going to bed with you had pain, but when it was time to get up, I had to turn over on my stomach and push myself out of the bed. And then you still didn't stand straight up. You were kind of hunched over until you arrived. It was almost like you're trying to work your body. It felt like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz. You had to get a little oil on you before you can go. We have none of that. So when I talk to people, they'll say, but you thought vegan was right. I said, okay. But when I was vegan, the only thing I said to you, just try meatless Mondays or something like that. I never picked the phone up and said, okay, stop eating meat. Stop eating. I never did that. I said, you should know there's a difference, because this one decided to do a YouTube channel. Your wife and my husband are somewhat, the camera is like, but he said, no, I really, oh my God, we have to tell people about this.
Yes.
And so that's how Hanging with the Browns came about. And we really try to take people on our journey. which leads me to my next question to you. When you are out, because I believe that you're fortunate enough not to work outside of the home besides the movie theater. So you have that flexibility. The moment that you start talking to somebody, what I'm supposed to do at work? What am I supposed to do? So how do you handle those situations when traveling or anything like that with the carnivore diet?
Yeah, it's a good question. When we just went to Alaska, it was a challenge. One of the things though is a lot of people, when they think about carnivore, they're thinking of it from the standard American diet to carnivore. Like, oh, I ate 3 meals and snacks and all this. I eat way less on carnivore, so it's easier in that regard. One thing we've been doing when I went to Alaska was I specifically found Airbnb so I could cook my own food. So that really helped me. But I've been getting good at. It's really tricky going out to eat, and it's expensive on carnivore. But I tell people too, they're like, "Oh, it must be nice. You must be rich, just eating steak all the time." But I eat so much less food, and I tell people if you really are honest and do the honest math, what you're eating versus what I'm eating, I'm spending way less than you when I'm eating.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So one trip to Starbucks, you're spending $8, $10. I don't go to Starbucks. You go to the gas station, you fill up on junk food. You're eating popcorn and potato chips and candy. You got dessert. You go out for drinks on the weekend. I don't do any of that. I just have one big steak a day. Actually, now I'm eating more because I got down to my goal weight. But still, even eating more now, one of my favorite go-tos for travel or just in general, my daughter Emma and I do this thing. Dr. Berry talks about BBBE, beef, butter, bacon, eggs. We put it all into one bowl. We call it the Power Bowl. And it's like a scramble with ground beef and bacon. And you eat that and you could go run a marathon after eating that. It's just like an energy boost, but that's something for travel too. Emma will make a whole bunch of that up, put it in some containers, and you can eat it cold if you want to, just bring it with and warm it up, things like that. I guess otherwise traveling, I gotta show you guys my shirt. This is my other thing when I travel that I like to do. Jen and I are going out later. This is the new shirt we got.
Ask me what.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When we went to Chicago, there was a gentleman driving the shuttle bus at the airport, and I wanted to talk to him. So we had the camera. I wanted to get some conversations going with people because I'm fired up about it now. And before this, I was so anxious I wouldn't talk to anybody. But we got to get the word out about this thing. That's why I'm so happy for people doing YouTube videos. I just said to the guy driving, and we were in Chicago, I was like, are there any good steaks here in Chicago? Kind of like a dumb question, but it was a good icebreaker. He's like, oh, yeah, there are. And we went in, I got some of it on video. We went into this whole conversation about carnivore. He ended up just in this 10-minute shuttle bus ride. Sadly, his dad had passed away from type 2 diabetes. And he wanted to know more. He was pushing the conversation out. What do you eat? Can I eat pork chops? Can I do this? And he was asking me all these questions. Someone commented on the video. I ended up making up these little, it's like a business card, but I'm not making any money off of it. It's not even self-promotion. It's just saying, if you want to start a carnivore diet, you need to do your research. And it suggests watching Dr. Berry's carnivore diet mistakes video and Dr. Chafee's carnivore basic videos. So I got these in my pocket, and I'm always looking to talk to people because it's fun getting the word out there. And I mean, like I said, there's so many hopeless people out there. I wish somebody told me about this a long time ago. And I'm not telling people do carnivore. I'm just saying this is what happened to me. This is my example. Sorry, my chicken's going out there.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah.
One of the things I saw, Dr. Kim Berry, a short he had put together. I think it was "What Do I Eat at McDonald's?" Kind of pulled up and he showed he ordered the quarter pounders. Well, we tried that, and I wasn't too impressed with McDonald's quarter pounders. So I actually have a plug for Wendy's. And you were talking about, Wendy's, man, you can, they got the small and the large patty. So you can get the 1/3 pound patty. You get 3 of those, you eat a pound of burger, and they're fresh. And it has to be at least 73% lean. So there's a lot of fat there, and it's juicy. And that's a real good, that's my go-to when I'm out.
But
that's my go-to when I'm out.
But here's the catch. You have to tell the person, because most of the people at the register don't know how to ring it up.
Right.
So you have to let them know go to the side menu as if you were adding a beef patty, and they're like $1.50.
$1.50.
Yes.
So for $4.50, which is less than one of their meals, you just get a pan, almost a pound of meat that can tide you over. And Wendy's burgers were much better than the rest of them. We tried that at Burger King. I didn't like that.
I didn't even like McDonald's.
I didn't like
Wendy's is the best so far.
Yeah. So
I agree.
that is one that we found. And a lot of times I'll tell people, if you're going to work, go ahead and boil you some eggs. But when I say to them, the goal is for you to eat one time a day, that becomes overwhelming.
Right.
And so I just let them know, okay, well, if you're at work, as a matter of fact, when I get off with you, I'm getting ready to record where I take ground beef, and the cheese is optional, where you can take a small cube, put it on the inside, make a meatball, wrap it up in bacon, put them in muffin pans and bake those. So when you get them out, it's almost like an apple.
Yeah.
And so if you wait for it to chill a little bit, you can literally eat it as an apple. Cheese is optional because some people will eat cheese sometimes. So I'm getting ready to do that recording today. So because people are always asking me, and it's like, well, do some cooking shows. And I'm like, bacon, egg, steak. Right. I don't know how.
People say that to me too. Tell me what you're eating every day. Tell me. I'm like, steak, bacon, egg, steak. It's the same thing. Wendy's is great. I agree with that one. I don't know if you guys have this by you. Culver's. It's kind of more Midwest. There's a place called Culver's, and they do butter burgers, but it's 100% ground beef. They're really fatty. And it's exactly like you said. They're spreading around. So some people, if you got a Culver's near you or Wendy's, that'd be a good one. And it's just like you said, you have to know how to order it. So figure that out. Culver's is the same way. You got to ask for a side. Otherwise, they try to get you a whole burger, and the cashier will try to take the bun and everything off, and it takes it forever. You just say, give me a side, a patty. And then I say ×3 or however hungry I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes
no, I think we have
Cookout.
Yeah. Cookout does their grilled
I haven't
burgers.
tried them yet.
Yeah, they do. We just have to go in and make sure they can find the burger on the side. Well,
yeah, I was going to say, I guess another question we kind of want to have. We watched your video, your recent one with your wife, and I think you ended up taking it down because of some negative comments. But one of the things my wife and I talked about, we think it's awesome if you have someone that's taking this journey with you, right? Someone that you can kind of go back and forth with, and it works well for us. And we understand that it doesn't work for everybody. I mean, it's got to be something that ultimately you make up your mind to do, regardless if you're on this journey alone or not, which, it seems that you are, and I commend you for that. And sometimes some people, when they see your progress, they see your joy, they see the changes in your life, they'll eventually convert over, but we kind of want to get your take on, you kind of know what it is, but how do you feel about, having that support community, or especially even within your own house? I think it helps tremendously.
It does. I tell people, don't let it be a barrier to starting though, because I've had people say that I want to do carnivore, but I can't because I cook for my family. My husband won't do it. You just make your husband the same stuff if he's not on board yet, and you just add some vegetables on it, and then you just eat the steak. But it is huge. Yeah, so I did that video with Jen. It was funny. People were so fired up so here's just a quick story. Jen was vegetarian for years, and I didn't say anything to her. I'm on a day 170 at Carnivore. I think around day 130, she decided to go full on. She's like, I have this saying, it's kind of corny, but I'm like, you got to be the captain of your own ship. You got to decide you want to do it. You got to take total control yourself. Well, she said to me one day, I'm going to be the captain of my own ship. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You're doing keto again. Cause we've done keto so many times, and she was vegetarian. So I thought she was going to do vegetarian keto. She's like, no, I'm going to do carnivore. And she jumped right in. I told her, don't do that. Ease into it. And she's so bullheaded. Anyway, she went in, she did really well. She stopped snoring in the first couple days.
I remember you saying that.
It was just amazing to see your loved one's health literally improved day after years of snoring. That's such a huge thing. But then she started suffering. She's got the keto flu really bad, and she started getting like an aversion to eating meat, and she wasn't having her electrolytes. But long story short, she's back doing keto now, which she should have done earlier, and she's doing really, really well. But yeah,
Good.
the other day I put a video out. We were out to eat, and she was having her keto lunch. I was having my carnivore, and I put a steak by her. And everyone in the comments was like, leave her alone. She can do whatever she wants. She's doing whatever she wants. She bullies me. I wasn't bullying her, but I actually did a follow-up video since then. I'm just encouraging her. Yeah, I'm just trying to encourage her. Like, you're doing great. You do whatever you want to do. I can't force you to do anything. But that, what I was telling you guys earlier, when we went on that Alaskan cruise and we lost all that weight, it was heartbreaking for her and myself to gain all that back and more. And by the way, we've since done that probably 20 times. Keto on, off, on, off. So I'm just like, you got to just do it right this time. Just add a little bit more meat in. She's got this meat aversion, but I think she's going to come around eventually. But long story short,
no, she said, listen, she said that on the you did one. Well, when I saw it, it was 3 days ago, probably 4 days now, but you had a lot of guests on there, and she was down at the bottom, and she said, guys, I will be joining you. I remember her saying that I will be joining you. So she will. It has, like you said, if you want her to stay, then it has to be her mind and not something. But she did the same thing because Frederick, before Carnivore, he did what we call a calorie deficit. And then, of course, he was trying to share that with me. And I felt like, okay, I can just eat smaller portions. And that didn't work. I went to the gym 7 days a week for 6 months straight and lost 10 pounds. What the freak is that? 6 freaking pounds. And I had a personal trainer. So just listen to that money going out the door. I've lost more weight now and didn't work out at all.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it is. But she will. But what I wanted to say to you, you're out in the public now. Okay. Yeah. Homestead, How No is out. Kerry name is out, and don't allow that to come over in your household. They're going to make the comments. I remember one time you saying that in the comments they were saying you were cutting them off and talking over them. Well, personalities are different. And someone even said that on one of our videos. It's like, I can't even listen to this. She keep cutting him off. And my response was, ha, 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 ha. First of all, I was on Percocets for 3 years. So with that, I had almost lost my memory. And so a lot of times, and we are happy that now I can hold a thought and let him finish. But it wasn't just him. It was everybody, because I can be talking to you and forget what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, that was a side effect of that drug. And so now I have none of that. But dude, my brother, listen, let them type. Don't you take it to heart, because there are much bigger things that you have to focus on. Right. And you are out here doing it. And some of them sit behind that computer and just say mess to kind of get it going, but you should have let them comments just keep right on going.
Yeah,
right. It would have done the video good.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. I'm usually pretty good. You know what I do? If you guys get one of these, sometimes you get like a vegan comment that's like an essay about you're destroying the world, everything. This is what I do. I love this move. I just type the letter K, and it's got to be lowercase, and that's it. They get so mad. They'll spend an hour writing the thing. I'll just be like, K, and that's it. But the only reason I did that follow-up video, it wasn't necessarily because of the comments. It was just because I'm like, this is really important that I lost all this weight on keto. And I in my mind, I'm never gaining another pound back. And I did it all. And now I know the reason why. And Jen needs to understand that. People need to understand it, because I don't want other people to go through that sort of thing.
Okay, wait a minute. You just said keto and you meant carnivore. So I don't want anybody to see that part.
Right. Well, I was saying I did it on the way Jen was doing keto before without getting enough fat. And that was my only point in that video, was you can do keto, but keto means eating enough fat. And so the reason I did that video was so other people can see if you want to yo-yo on and off forever and ever, there's a way not to do it, and to do it properly, you got to get enough fat. So
there you go. All right. Well, we're going to come to an end, but I'm actually going to air this Saturday. So now you can talk about your 24-hour.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So Saturday, the 16th, September 16th, we're doing a 24-hour live stream, and I will send you guys an invite. It's going to be a tight schedule. So I feel bad.
What time are you starting? Are you going to start at midnight?
We're starting at 8 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, the 16th, 8 a.m. Eastern. And it's crazy, the lineup. So we've got Dr. Berry, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Baker, Philip Ovadia, the heart surgeon, is going to be on. Lots of different speakers and different sessions. And we're going to talk about women's health. We're going to talk about depression, anxiety as carnivore relates to it. And yeah, I'm going to be on it for the full 24 hours. And the purpose of this live stream is to raise funds for the carnivore diet documentary. We're almost fully funded. It's so expensive doing a documentary and doing it properly to the quality and level that's going to be needed to get it on a big streaming site like Netflix. We've already went out and filmed Bill in Alaska, which was amazing. I'm dying to share some of that footage, but when the last step of the documentary is going to be to film all these doctors, Dr. Berry, Dr. Chafee, and that has to be done with the crew professionally. It's going to be expensive. So that's why we're trying to raise these remaining funds. I always tell people this documentary, it isn't mine. It's our carnivore documentary. It's truly this carnivore community. You guys, everyone I met this carnivore, they're just the greatest people. And it's all coming together through the help of everyone. Lots of volunteers, and just we're crowdfunding the whole thing. So I'm not going to stop. Like, we were talking about this earlier. I did one video. It turned into like, oh, this is kind of fun. I'm going to do some more. Now it's a responsibility. It's my mission. It's like my purpose in life is I have to get this word out. So I'm not going to stop till we reach millions of people. And I really think we're going to do that with this, with the documentary, and the live stream is leading into that documentary. So.
Yeah. Well, this one will air this Saturday, so this information can get out. And so it'll be on your channel. I'll have that information on there. So then that way people can tune in, hear the different stories, see that people are alive and functioning and doing well. The ailments, the everything is, when you talked about depression, a year and a half ago, I lost my mom. And I've been let's start. 11 years ago, my oldest daughter at the age of 30 died in my arms.
Oh, I'm so
and
sorry.
She left behind 2 children. And I felt that I bounced back. I think that my recovery was pretty good, and I kept moving forward. But when I lost my mother, my family was asking me to seek help. It was really bad. And so then they had me on meds, and they said you have to be on those for 3 weeks to a month before you can actually tell a difference, because in those first 3 weeks, they said that I was, I would snap, just angry. My response was just cut off, yeah. And when I started the carnivore diet, I came off of all meds, and I couldn't go a day without not only crying. I would cry to dry heave. I would cry out of my sleep. And then, I don't know, almost 2 weeks in, and this continuous crying, I looked at my husband and said, wow, I had the worst dream. I dreamed that my mom died, but she's at home watching television, right? And he looked, he said, yes, baby, she's at home watching television. That's what stopped me from crying that day. And that's when everybody knew I needed help. I really, really did. And looking back on it, yeah, I could have, the sadness was one thing, but those emotions were like way over the top. And now on this lifestyle of eating, I can think of her, I can talk of her and not like feel like, you know, I have to go and get in the bed because I'm not going to get out of bed. I went through all of that. Didn't get out of bed, didn't do any of those things, and just lay and just cry to where my insides hurt from just the grief. That was just horrible. And I believe that, first of all, if I knew, because it's my brother that introduced us to the carnivore diet, and I interviewed him. And that's one of the things that we said, you know, that if we knew about this, mom would still be here. My mom was 84 and she ended up being diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And we knew that if we knew this, that we would not have had that. She would have had a fighting chance and just everything. So we can't go backwards, but that's where I want to, in the Hispanic community, in the Black community, in the Asian community, even at the end of our video of us being on the ship, my head waiter was from India. And I dedicated the end of that to him and his wife, Wendy, because he was like, oh, I need my wife to do this. And I looked at his belly and said, you need to do it too. Don't just give Wendy. So I want to really get this out to the community, because I really see a lot of males doing this. It's like, it's meat. You know, you guys, get your muscles. So I want to see the variety. I want to see where the teens are, where mothers are starting to take care of their bodies while they are pregnant, for a healthier birth. Encourage them to breastfeed, but if you're eating the proper diet, the milk is even better. And then when it's time to feed your kids, and so that's why we really do want to support. I don't want to do a documentary from scratch. So, honey, that is that's your calling, your vision, but to support it, because it's going to be very important, and then to push it out to the masses once it's done. So, you know, the Browns are with you, honey.
I appreciate it. I love you guys. This is great. You guys are a great carnivore team, and I want to elevate all voices, because it's all humans. It's not even just Americans either. It's like a worldwide issue. And there's just something, it's so simple, but just you guys are being what it's like to be a natural human being. That's all it is. And everything is a million times better. And you look around in the public and you're like, you deserve to feel this way. Come on. You just want to shake people. It's like you said, you can't, but we can put that example out there. So yeah, I'd love to help, elevate your voices any way I can. So I'd love to have you on the live stream. And if you're interested, we could have you on my channel too. I'd love to interview you guys and hear more of your story. It's crazy, like with your gout thing. I haven't heard anyone. I've heard people that have gout and reversed it, but that thought they had gout and it was actually arthritis, because that was my situation exactly. They kept telling me it was gout, and then eventually the specialist was like, no, it wasn't. So yeah, would love to have you guys on there, elevate your voices some more, and talk some more for sure.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. Okay, so let me see. We plugged the movie. We got the live stream coming up, because we have to get this stuff out, Kerry. We really, really do. This is like so important. It is. And I'll say again, thank you for responding to the email. Thank you for reaching back out, and thank you for taking the time with this one, because you're known for your deer story, right? even she talked about that. But when because there's so many different nationalities, I, after hearing it, just thought about the cows, the goats, the deer, the horse. If we saw them, so go ahead and tell it, and then just envision different animals. Go ahead and share with the people what you say.
Yeah, so this is one of the things when people say we're eating crazy as carnivores, eating meat only. Humans are the only species, and there's millions of species on Earth. There's so many species, we don't even know how many there are. Humans are the only species eating outside of their intended diet. So a koala bear eats eucalyptus, a lion eats meat. Every animal, a cow eats grass. They eat the food they're intended to eat. Humans are the only species of animals that have obesity and depression and anxiety and arthritis and gout and all of these issues. And they're the only ones suffering. And we're the only ones eating outside of our ancestral diet that humans have eaten from the start of time. There's people that'll argue, oh, no, humans had this or that. You talk to Dr. Anthony Chaffee and some of these experts, it's irrefutable. You can look at fossil records and everything. Humans have eaten primarily meat since the beginning of time. And yeah, so on the deer thing, I always say we have a lot of deer around here. If you looked out and you saw a deer and its hair was falling out and its belly was rubbing up against the ground and it had man boobs and it was arthritic and it would put its little hoof down and was having issues, you'd be like, my goodness, that poor deer, what's wrong with it? It's sick. People will be like, put it out of its misery. There's something wrong with it. But you go to Walmart or the grocery store and every single person looks like that deer. And it's just normal. It shouldn't be normal. That's insane. And the last thing I'll say too, if you fed that deer the garbage that humans eat, if you fed it Doritos and ice cream and Diet Mountain Dew, its hair would fall out and it would be obese and it would look just like those humans do in the grocery store. It's not so crazy eating the way we do. And one other thing real quick, when people are thinking about doing this, right? They're like, it's crazy. I can't eat meat for 30 days. Just think about it this way. It's an elimination diet. Just tell yourself, I'm going to eliminate sugar and Doritos and Mountain Dew and processed food and all that garbage. I'm going to eliminate all that. They're still going to just be eating meat. But when you reframe it that way in your brain, it's a lot more easy to stomach. That's what I did. That's what I'm like, I can't eat meat for 30 days, but I can eliminate that stuff and let's just try that. So yeah, that's,
you know,
that's
what the word that I use is, and I tell people, don't tell yourself no, just say not right now. Say, you know what, I won't eat that right now. I'll eat it at the end of the 30 days.
Yes.
But what you and I know is that at the end of the 30 days, when they introduce it, that inflammation is coming back. And I tell them, I say, then you make the best decision for yourself. So instead of saying no, just say not right now. Oh, I'm going to get you in 30 days.
I love that. I love telling people that too. You're on the same page. Just do it for 30 days. You and I know in our head, they're going to get to 30 days and there's no way they're going to stop. Why would you stop doing it when you feel that amazing? And the other thing I tell people too is if you're scared to start this, what you should be more scared of or thinking about is what if you don't start this and you continue on that same path that you've been going that got you to this point where you're hopeless and sick and obese and got all these issues. What's going to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you continue doing that. That's what you should be scared of, not trying something new like this.
And normally when a doctor gives you a prescription, it's for 30 days. Yep. But you're willing to take those pills for 30 days hoping that things get better so you can keep eating what you're doing, deal with the side effects. 30 days are going to go by whether you want them to or not. Try this for 30 days. And if it doesn't work, then go ahead and try the prescription.
Right. Love it. Yeah.
That's it. All right, my brother from another mother. I will see you. Well, all right. I will see you later. You think they enjoyed this?
I hope they did. I really did. I enjoyed making it.
All right. And if they enjoyed it, what should they do?
Like, share, and subscribe. And you know what? Take a look at this video.